that says something has happened, send a signal to the power modulator to choke back the electric lighting. So this is kind of the basic anatomy on it. And this is a little bit complicated, but this is just, I'm looking at time of day. The top axis is just the measured daylight. The blue line, dotted blue line here, is the design illuminance. In other words, somebody said, I want to have 500 lux. And to modulate the light as a function of this daylight that's available, you can either continuously dim the light from 7 o'clock in the morning until 8 down to some low level, or you can switch it. Switch off one light, switch off another light. Both scenarios work. The important thing to understand is that all that stuff happens in the morning and in the evening, okay? Because throughout the whole day, nothing needs to happen, okay? It's basically at this point and at that point. And that's why we kind of sort of focused on the idea of doing the simplest things, because having continuously modulated light didn't appear to be needed. Okay. Two basic approaches to doing that. There's an approach called closed loop and open loop, and this is what you'll hear in the sort of the daylighting industry. Closed loop, the photosensor is affected by the light that it's seeing. So closed loop, it's looking inside. It makes decisions based on the available daylight. It sees the electric light. Open loop, the sensor's on top of the building or looking outside of the window, and it says, it's daylight, turn off the lights. Doesn't really care about what's happening in here. Your electric lights may be broken. It'll still turn them off. Okay? And that's one of the big problems with commercial daylight systems today is that many systems use open loop, turns the lights off and said, wait a minute, it's dark in here. Okay? And they get defeated. Okay. So the basic process on this is for both approaches is that the photosensor sees light. There's some kind of predetermined logic that says, do this. And then the power controller then chokes back or turns back the electric lighting. Okay? So I'm going to sort of go through this in process. Closed loop. The sensor's on the ceiling. It's looking inside the space. Okay? And closed loop is typically a technology that's mounted on the fixture. This is actually a commercially available closed loop self-commissioning system. It was actually developed at Davis. UC actually we have a patent on it, and I get a firm handshake every year. And so we're applying this inside these kinds of spaces. So the idea here is that this is the middle of the night, not enough daylight. So the sensor's looking down. It's not seeing any contribution from daylight. Keeps the lights on. Okay? So closed loop. Let me go to the next one. Enough light. There's light coming inside now. I tried to draw this when you can't see it with the light, but light's coming in about 50%. The sensor sees the daylight. It starts backing off the electric light, 50%. Okay? Even more daylight. Lots of daylight comes in. The sensor's looking down. It's now seeing an increase in light. It then starts dialing back the electric light. Okay? So that's a closed loop system. This is very common. Okay? Okay. And basically what's happening, and what I just showed you is this, is that light is going up inside the space, first lamp is switched off. More light comes inside the space, lamp is switched off. The rest of it is daylight, 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 starts getting dark, first light comes on, second light comes on, and then it decays. Okay, so this is kind of a very simple, self-calibrating closed loop system. Simple open loop, okay? The sensor's on the building, on the roof, it's looking out the window. This also gets used, okay? These kinds of applications, you see this a lot in large commercial, okay? Is that they're saying there's daylight outside, you should not have electric lighting. I don't really care what happens inside the space. Okay? These kinds of spaces, very good for this. But you have to ensure that your electric lighting is indeed working, because when it's not, you're in the dark. Okay? I use this a lot in laboratory spaces, and we did a lot of daylighting design down at UC Irvine, and we made a decision that when there was light coming through the windows, we would turn off all the fixtures along the window wall. We just made that decision, and we tested it. This is what the sensor looks like. It's looking out, not looking at the desk, it's looking out. It's saying there's daylight, lights will go off. This was cheap and worked very well. So what it did was it kept all the other fixtures on, but it turned all of these off. This is a very easy, quick, very, very cheap way of doing daylighting.